This is one of the special spots in the high Himalaya. Actually, it's not even in the Himalaya. It's the Trans-Himalaya, the Ladakh range. And this lake here is the lake of Pangong Tso. 700 square kilometers large. Perhaps the largest high altitude lake in the world, along the border of India and Tibet. The portion of the lake you see here falls entirely within India, but around 50 kilometers down, the lake heads into the Tibetan plateau of Tibet. So this lake is around 156 square kilometers here, and with an average width of 5.6 kilometers, it makes up a total of approximately 700 square kilometers. A fantastic 14,300 foot high body of water that is at once clear yet saline. And one of the unique features of Pangong Tso is the fact that it does not have an outlet. So it's one of the few lakes that does not have a stream exiting from it. So here at 14,300 feet in the rarefied air of Ladakh in the state of Jammu and Kashmir in India, I'm standing here along the lake of Pangong Tso. The lake of Pangong has not frozen in winter yet. It's October. The edges are still freezing over but melting now in this morning sun. But the edges of the lake have started freezing now. This is one of those very special places in the Trans-Himalaya, in the Ladakh range. The lake of Pangong Tso, with this most brilliant aquamarine blue-green surface, and the color keeps changing through the course of the day, reflecting the skies, the mountains around, and the snow peaks around. Pangong Tso, a lake of approximately 705 square kilometers, stretching from this portion of India, approximately 50 kilometers down from here, all lies within India, and then there's another 100 kilometers of the lake that falls in Tibet. And this is a 700 plus square kilometer lake, so one of the highest altitude saline lakes in the world. At 14,300 feet, Pangong Tso is one of those very special geographical features that borders India and Tibet, with a portion of it falling within India and the rest falling within Tibet. And it's one of the absolutely unique geographical features, with the color of the water changing through the course of the day and reflecting the light of the sky, the mountains around, and the snow peaks. Pangong Tso in Upper Ladakh, with a total size of approximately 700 square kilometers, is one of those absolutely unique geographical features. Set in the high Himalaya, Trans-Himalaya really, in the Ladakh range. No greenery, way above the tree line. I can see as not a single tree or shrub around here. So the oxygen levels are very low. One needs to acclimatize before getting up here, because all the common symptoms of altitude sickness will otherwise manifest themselves, including headaches, vomiting, a feeling of lightness in the head, and an overall feeling of exhaustion. So it's one of those high altitude, it's one of the special lakes in the Himalaya, like Guru Dongmar in the east and Sikkim. However, Guru Dongmar has an exit because it is the starting point of the Tangste river. So the water that exits Guru Dongmar leads into the Tangste river, which is one of the more prominent rivers of the eastern Himalaya in the state of Sikkim. Pangong Tso, on the other hand, is enormous. It's 700 plus square kilometers and stretches all the way from this portion in India into the Tibetan plateau. However, strangely enough, this lake has no outlet. So this enormous 700 square kilometer body of water has no exit. There's no stream or river that comes out of it. Imagine if there were a river to arise from Pangong. It could perhaps have made for one of the largest rivers in North India. So there's this huge body of water, saline in nature because it doesn't have an outlet, standing here along the Tibetan plateau, the edge of the Himalaya and the Ladakh range and the Tibetan plateau. Absolutely a unique geographical feature, with its ever-changing colors and a completely low oxygen zone all around, with brown mountains, no trees, way above the tree line, falling within the Changthang Nature Reserve and National Park, with a whole range of wildlife, including the snow leopard, ibex, and the Ladakh wild ass, which is found nowhere else in the world, only here in this area called Ladakh. I'm standing here at Pangong Tso, an absolutely unique geographical feature that lies in the Ladakh range in North India along the Tibetan plateau. The lake here is more than 150 square kilometers long, a portion of which lies in India, with the rest of it in Tibet, along the Tibetan plateau. This 700 square kilometer geographical feature is absolutely unique. It's saline in nature, the water, even though it's clear, and reflects the skies, the mountains, and the snow peaks around. And the color of the lake keeps changing through the course of the day. Now, this lake here has no outlet, which leads to its increasing salinity. And unlike Gurudongmar in the eastern Himalaya in Sikkim, which is the starting point of the Tangste river, this lake has no river coming out of it. Were it to have had a river emanating from it, it would have made for one of the largest rivers in South Asia. But this lake here sits forlorn up on the plateau in Ladakh in a very low oxygen zone with not even a single tree or shrub around it. We are well above the tree line here at 14,300 feet altitude. One needs to acclimatize before getting up to Pangong Tso because otherwise the typical symptoms of lightheadedness, dizziness and headaches can manifest themselves due to the altitude. So Pangong Tso is this very unique feature which has become more well known now due to an Indian film having been filmed here, but it is a remote region with outstanding wildlife, all falling within the Changthang Nature Preserve National Park, including the Ladakh wild ass, which is not found anywhere else in the world, snow leopard, and a healthy population of ibex and other ungulates. My Himalaya, this is one of the unique features of my personal experiences around the Himalaya, and one of those secret spots which is now increasingly getting better known around the world. Pangong Tso Lake.